It's been a week since Margaret Thatcher's death on the 8th of April. Since there's been such a dearth of media coverage, we at the Cherwell decided to step up to the plate. We interviewed 3 Oxford students on their views on her life and legacy. They are Dan Turner from the Labour Club, Sarah Pine from the Owsley Women's Campaign, and Brendan Brett, a member of Somerville. Why does Margaret Thatcher merit a £10 million funeral?
I think she was a very definitive politician. She defined the way our political system works to a great extent in this country, and lots of the debate is about broken things. She broke the union, she broke the back of whatever opposition against her, but she also broke lots of other things in a positive way. She broke glass ceilings, if you like. She broke vested interests.
Traditionally they've been the preserver people who have unified the nation, who have extended liberties for everyone in the country.
Are you surprised at the lack of protests at the funeral?
It was probably showing due respect on a day of mourning, so whether it's national mourning or personal private mourning, that's fair enough. But I would object to the idea that we should try and move on beyond her public persona. So even though her death is a private tragedy, her public legacy is still very much contentious and should be debated.
What do women have to learn from Thatcher's legacy?
Well, actually something that was brought up here was that she definitely did have a very can-do attitude, and that she definitely believed that she could break down ideas that people had kind of accepted which weren't necessarily true. The way that she did it I find quite problematic, but she is actually in some ways a very empowering figure.
I think one great aspect of this event today was not that it was kind of lauding her necessarily as a great unifier of the nation, but it had a cathartic purpose, I think, very much so. And this is not a novel use of state funeral. The Duke of Wellington, for instance, was a very controversial figure in his day. Catholic emancipation and things like that were very controversial, and he was a very divisive figure in many ways, and his funeral was a great moment of catharsis, and I think the same is true here.
Is it not the case that the Labour Party didn't really challenge her policies while they were in office?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that a lot of the New Labour consensus was in the shadow of Thatcher. Famously when they asked her what was her proudest achievement, she said Tony Blair, and I think that holds true. But then there's no reason to say that there can't now be a reaction against that on the left, and I think that's the direction that we're moving in.
Was she a typical product of Oxford?
I mean, I'd actually disagree. I wouldn't say she was a typical product of Oxford at all. Like 75% of Common Room presidents over the past 10 years have been male, and I think that's actually quite a depressing statistic. Seeing a woman rise to power and occupying the top political office of this country is actually very unusual for her to come from Oxford.
The legacy of Margaret Thatcher will undoubtedly continue to divide and define British politics. In the coming decades, it's our generation who will witness the influence of her premiership as it plays out in the politics of what David Cameron referred to as Thatcher's children. Harriet Smith Hughes for the Cherwell.